In a dramatic showdown that's reigniting tensions across the US-Canada border, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has abruptly backed down from imposing a sweeping digital services tax after a direct call with President Donald Trump. The White House wasted no time declaring a resounding victory, with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stating bluntly that Carney had caved under Trump's relentless pressure. The tax, which targeted American tech powerhouses like Amazon, Google, Meta, and Apple, was set to take effect Monday. But after President Trump forcefully condemned the move as a blatant attack on American business, Canada buckled, reversing course in a last-minute policy collapse that is reverberating through international headlines. President Trump, who has returned to office with a vengeance and a no-nonsense stance on trade, responded to the proposed tax by halting all trade negotiations with Canada and threatening to slap retaliatory tariffs on Canadian exports. The White House's message was crystal clear. Any attempt to drain revenue from U.S. companies would come at a steep diplomatic and economic cost. Within 48 hours, the pressure campaign paid off. On Sunday evening, Carney personally phoned Trump, reportedly conceding that Canada would drop the measure. By Monday morning, Canadian Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne confirmed the government would stop collecting payments and would introduce new legislation to permanently scrap the tax. This is a major victory, not just for our tech industry, but for the American worker and the strength of President Trump's leadership, said Leavitt. He is governing the best economy in the world, and every nation on the planet understands that maintaining a good relationship with the United States is not optional. It's essential. The now-defunct digital services tax, first introduced in 2020, was aimed at closing loopholes that allowed multinational tech companies to generate massive profits in Canada without paying a proportional share of taxes. The plan would have imposed a 3% tax on Canadian revenues over $20 million and was set to apply retroactively from January 2022. Canada's Liberal government had estimated it would bring in nearly 6 billion Canadian dollars over 5 years, over 2 billion in its first year alone. The move aligned with efforts by other countries, including the UK and France, to clamp down on digital giants who have used complex corporate structures to minimize tax obligations across borders. But the timing proved politically explosive. Trump, a vocal opponent of international levies on U.S. firms, interpreted the tax as a direct assault on American economic interests. His swift response effectively cornered Canada, forcing a choice between economic escalation or diplomatic retreat. Back home, Carney is facing fierce backlash. Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre condemned the government's sudden U-turn, accusing Carney of putting his elbows down just months after campaigning on a promise to stand firm against U.S. pressure. Poilievre invoked Carney's own campaign slogan, "Elbows Up," to mock the Prime Minister's surrender, and called on him to demand something in return: the immediate removal of U.S. softwood lumber tariffs that have long hurt Canadian producers. "This government folded without getting anything back," Poilievre said. "We should be securing gains for Canadian workers, not giving in at the first sign of resistance." The dramatic turn of events has sparked debate not only over Canada's economic strategy, but also over Trump's growing influence on global fiscal policy. As nations across Europe and Asia continue to pursue digital taxation reforms, Canada's retreat sends a clear signal. When Trump draws a red line, even allies take notice. With billions in lost revenue and mounting political costs at home, Carney's gamble may have just handed President Trump one of his most visible international victories since returning to office, and reshape the rules of engagement for U.S. allies hoping to tax American tech.